Marcus shuffled through the crowded school hallway, head down, trying to avoid eye contact with anyone. Students whispered and pointed as he passed, some laughing behind their hands. Chad intercepted him near the lockers with his usual cruel smirk. Well, if it isn't Pizza Face making his grand entrance, Chad sneered loudly. Marcus clutched his books tighter and tried to walk around Chad, but was blocked again. Ashley and Brittany appeared beside Chad, giggling maliciously at Marcus's discomfort. Did he get even fatter over the weekend? Ashley said with fake concern. Maybe he should try the seafood diet. Seafood? Don't eat it, Brittany added with a laugh. Marcus's face burned with shame as other students gathered to watch the daily humiliation. Please, just leave me alone, Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible. What was that? I can't hear you over all that heavy breathing, Chad mocked. The crowd burst into laughter as Marcus pushed through them and fled down the hallway. Marcus burst into the cafeteria, hoping to find refuge among the busy lunch crowd. He grabbed a tray and got in line, trying to blend in with the other students. The lunch lady piled food onto his tray with a sympathetic smile. Marcus found an empty table in the corner and sat down alone. He was halfway through his sandwich when Chad's gang surrounded his table. Having a nice little feast there, Marcus? Chad asked, eyeing the food. Maybe we should help you with your diet, Ashley said with false sweetness. Chad grabbed Marcus's sandwich and held it high above his head. Give it back, please, Marcus pleaded, reaching up futilely. The entire cafeteria was now watching the spectacle with mixed amusement and pity. Chad suddenly dropped the sandwich, letting it splatter on the floor. Oops, my bad, Chad said with fake innocence as the bullies walked away laughing. Marcus stared at his ruined lunch on the floor, fighting back tears. He quickly gathered his things and fled the cafeteria as whispers followed him. Marcus dragged himself to gym class, his least favorite part of the day. He changed into his ill-fitting gym clothes in the corner of the locker room. The coach announced they would be running laps around the gym. Marcus started jogging slowly, while the other students lapped him easily. His breathing became labored, and sweat poured down his face. Chad jogged past him effortlessly, making whale sounds as he passed. Other students joined in with the whale sounds and laughter. Marcus stumbled and fell to his knees, gasping for air. The coach blew his whistle and told Marcus to sit on the bench. Marcus sat on the sidelines, watching his classmates continue their workout. After class, Marcus headed to the bathroom to clean himself up. He splashed cold water on his face and looked up at his reflection. The mirror showed everything he hated about himself. The acne, the fat, the weakness. Tears began streaming down his cheeks as the weight of his misery crushed him. I can't take this anymore, he whispered to his reflection. Marcus grabbed his backpack and ran out of the school building. He kept running until he reached the forest path behind the school. Marcus collapsed against a large tree, sobbing uncontrollably. Why was he born to be such a loser? What was the point of living like this? Through his tears, Marcus noticed a thin trail of smoke rising from deeper in the forest. Curiosity overcame his despair as he wiped his eyes and stood up. Marcus followed the smoke through the dense trees and undergrowth. After several minutes of walking, he discovered a small clearing. In the center stood an ancient-looking wooden cabin with smoke rising from its chimney. Marcus approached cautiously, wondering who could be living out here. Before he could knock, the door creaked open on its own. A deep, wise voice called from within. I've been expecting you, young one. Marcus hesitated at the threshold, unsure whether to enter or run. Come in, child. Your tears have brought you to the right place. Marcus stepped inside and gasped at what he saw. An elderly man with a long gray beard sat cross-legged on a simple mat. Despite his age, there was something powerful and commanding about his presence. Sit, the hermit said, gesturing to a cushion across from him. Marcus sat down awkwardly, still sniffling from his earlier breakdown. You have been suffering, the hermit observed with knowing eyes. How did you know? Marcus asked, surprised by the stranger's insight. I can see the pain in your soul, young Marcus. It calls out for transformation. You know my name? Marcus's eyes widened in disbelief. I know many things, child, including the path to becoming who you're meant to be. The hermit stood and walked to an old wooden chest in the corner. He pulled out a faded photograph and handed it to Marcus. Marcus took the photo and nearly dropped it in shock. The photo showed the most perfect man he had ever seen. The ultimate Chad. "That was me 50 years ago," the hermit said quietly. Marcus looked back and forth between the photo and the old man, stunned. "But how is that possible? You look so different now. Time changes us all, but the knowledge of transformation remains eternal. I was once like you, Marcus. Weak, pathetic, invisible to the world." Marcus felt a spark of hope ignite in his chest for the first time in years. You really think someone like me could change? "I don't think it, child. I know it. I will teach you the ancient art of LOOKSMAXXING." LOOKSMAXXING? Marcus had never heard the term before. The ancient science of maximizing one's physical potential and attractiveness. It requires discipline, dedication, and the willingness to suffer for greatness. Marcus nodded eagerly, ready to try anything to escape his current life. "Then we begin at dawn. Tonight, you rest and prepare your mind." Marcus spent the night in the hermit's cabin, sleeping on a simple mat. He dreamed of transformation, of becoming someone completely different. The next morning, Marcus was awakened by the hermit shaking his shoulder gently. "Rise, young apprentice. Your journey to greatness begins today." Marcus got up groggily, but with newfound purpose in his movements. The hermit led him outside to a hidden training area behind the cabin. The area had various exercise equipment and meditation stones arranged carefully. "First, we address the most visible barrier to your transformation: your skin." The hermit produced a collection of mysterious bottles and jars. These are ancient remedies, passed down through generations of masters. Marcus examined the bottles skeptically, unsure if they would really work. "Trust the process, young one. Doubt is the enemy of transformation." The hermit showed Marcus how to apply each treatment properly, morning and evening, without fail. Consistency is the key to all change. Marcus nodded and began his first skincare routine under the hermit's guidance. Over the following weeks, Marcus visited the hermit daily after school. Each day brought new lessons in the art of self-improvement. Gradually, Marcus noticed his acne beginning to clear up. 1 month later, Marcus looked in the mirror and gasped in amazement. His skin was completely clear for the first time in years. "Well done, young apprentice. Now we move to the next phase." The hermit revealed an intense physical training regimen, unlike anything Marcus had seen. "This will transform your body from weak to powerful, but it will not be easy." Marcus looked at the equipment nervously, but steeled himself for the challenge. The first day of physical training nearly broke him completely. Every muscle in his body screamed in agony as he struggled through basic exercises. "Pain is weakness leaving your body," the hermit reminded him. Marcus gritted his teeth and forced himself to continue. Week after week, the training became his obsession. The hermit also changed his diet completely, eliminating all junk food. "You are what you eat. Feed your body like the temple it is." Marcus gave up pizza, soda, and everything he used to love eating. The sacrifice was painful, but his results spoke for themselves. After 3 months of brutal training, Marcus stepped on the scale in disbelief. He had lost over 50 pounds and gained significant muscle mass. The transformation was remarkable, but the hermit wasn't finished yet. Now comes the most advanced phase, the esoteric arts of attraction. The hermit taught Marcus about mewing, proper tongue posture for jawline development. Practice this constantly. Your jawline will become sharp enough to cut glass. Next came huntermaxing, developing the predatory gaze of an alpha male. Your eyes must pierce the soul. Make others feel your dominance without words. The hermit also taught proper posture, walking technique, and voice projection. Every aspect of your presence must radiate power and confidence. Finally, the hermit revealed the secrets of style and grooming mastery. The right haircut, perfect grooming, and fitted clothes complete the transformation. Marcus practiced every technique religiously, perfecting each element. After 6 months of total dedication, Marcus stood before the hermit transformed. He was no longer the weak, acne-covered boy who had fled into the forest. Marcus had become a handsome, confident, powerful young man. The hermit smiled with pride at his greatest student's achievement. "You are ready, young master. Go forth and claim your destiny." Marcus bowed deeply to his mentor, filled with gratitude and purpose. The next morning, Marcus walked into school with his head held high. Students stopped and stared, unable to recognize the transformed young man. "Who is that? Where did he come from?" The whispers followed him. Marcus walked past his old locker with complete confidence. Ashley spotted him first and nearly dropped her books in shock. "Oh my God, Brittany, look at that guy," she whispered urgently. Brittany turned and gasped, immediately smitten by Marcus's new appearance. "He's gorgeous." "Do you think he's new?" Ashley asked breathlessly. Marcus walked directly up to the two girls with a confident smile. "Hello, Ashley. Hello, Brittany. Remember me?" The girls stared in complete disbelief, not recognizing Marcus at all. "I'm Marcus, Pizza Face, the one you used to mock." Both girls' jaws dropped as the impossible truth hit them. That's impossible. "You can't be Marcus," Ashley stammered. "Oh, but I am, and I remember every cruel word you ever said." The girls began to back away, suddenly afraid of this new Marcus. Chad appeared from around the corner, immediately sensing the tension. "What's going on here? Who's this pretty boy bothering you girls?" Marcus turned slowly to face Chad, his hunter eyes locking onto his target. "Hello, Chad. Ready for a rematch from gym class?" Chad's confident smirk faltered as he began to recognize something familiar. "Wait, Marcus? Is that really you, you fat loser?" "The loser you used to know is gone. I'm something much better now." Chad tried to maintain his bravado, but his voice wavered slightly. "You think some fancy clothes and a haircut make you tough?" Marcus stepped closer, his presence now physically intimidating. A crowd began forming around them as students sensed a confrontation brewing. Chad threw a punch, but Marcus caught his fist effortlessly. Chad's eyes widened in shock as Marcus squeezed his fist. "Your reign of terror is over, Chad. I'm the alpha now." Marcus released Chad's hand, and the bully stumbled backward. The crowd burst into amazed chatter as Chad's dominance crumbled. Chad slunk away in humiliation as his reputation shattered publicly. Ashley and Brittany stared at Marcus with newfound attraction and fear. "Marcus, we're so sorry about before. We were just joking around," Ashley pleaded. "Yeah, we think you're really amazing now," Brittany added hopefully. Marcus looked at them with cold disdain, unmoved by their desperate appeals. "You had your chance to be decent human beings. You chose cruelty instead." The girls looked devastated as Marcus walked away without another glance. Marcus continued down the hallway as students parted before him respectfully. He spotted Emma at her locker, and his confident facade softened slightly. Emma was the one person who had never been cruel to him. Marcus approached her with genuine warmth instead of cold dominance. "Excuse me, Emma?" he said softly, using his most charming voice. Emma turned and her eyes widened at the handsome stranger addressing her. "Do I know you?" "You look familiar somehow," she said curiously. "I'm Marcus. I used to sit behind you in English class." Emma's mouth fell open as she realized who he was. "Marcus? Oh my goodness, you look completely different." "I decided to make some changes in my life. Do you like them?" Emma blushed as she looked at his transformed appearance appreciatively. "You look incredible, Marcus. Really amazing. Would you like to have lunch with me today?" Marcus asked hopefully. Emma smiled brightly and nodded enthusiastically. "I'd love to. I've always thought you were really sweet." Marcus felt his heart soar as his longtime crush accepted his invitation. Later that day in the cafeteria, Marcus and Emma sat together. Other students watched in amazement at the new power couple. Ashley and Brittany sat alone at their usual table, staring jealously. "I can't believe he chose her over us," Ashley muttered bitterly. Chad sat at another table, still nursing his wounded pride. Marcus was now the undisputed king of the school. As the weeks passed, Marcus and Emma became the school's golden couple. Marcus had achieved everything he had ever dreamed of, and more. He was popular, respected, and dating the girl of his dreams. One day, Marcus decided to visit his old mentor to share his success. The hermit welcomed him with a knowing smile. "Master, I cannot thank you enough. You've given me everything. You gave yourself everything, young one. I merely showed you the path. But tell me, are you truly happy with who you've become?" Marcus paused, considering the unexpected question. "Of course I'm happy. I have everything I ever wanted." The hermit nodded slowly, but his eyes held a deeper wisdom. "Power and beauty are tools, not destinations. Remember that." Marcus left the cabin feeling slightly unsettled by the hermit's words. The next day at school, Marcus noticed something unusual. Students were buzzing with excitement about a new transfer student. "Have you seen the new guy? He's even more gorgeous than Marcus." Marcus felt a strange twinge of unease in his stomach. He pushed through the crowd to see who this newcomer was. Marcus froze in shock when he saw the new student's face. The new student looked exactly like the hermit had in his youth. It was impossible. The same face, the same perfect features. The new student turned and made direct eye contact with Marcus. He smiled with the same mysterious wisdom Marcus had seen before. "Hello, Marcus. I believe we have much to discuss." Marcus felt his world spinning as impossible questions flooded his mind. Who was this stranger? How did he look exactly like the hermit? And most importantly, what did he want with Marcus? Emma appeared beside Marcus, her eyes also fixed on the newcomer. "Wow, Marcus, he's really something, isn't he?" Marcus felt a stab of jealousy as he noticed Emma's reaction. For the first time since his transformation, Marcus felt inferior again. The new student approached them with confident, measured steps. "Hello, Emma. I'm Alexander. Pleased to meet you." Emma blushed deeply as Alexander took her hand and kissed it gently. Marcus watched in horror as his girlfriend melted under Alexander's charm. "And Marcus," Alexander said, turning his attention to him, "I've heard so much about your transformation." Marcus felt exposed and vulnerable under Alexander's penetrating gaze. How do you know about that?" Marcus stammered. Alexander's smile grew wider, more mysterious. "I know many things, Marcus, including what you don't know yet." The school bell rang, breaking the tense moment. Alexander bowed slightly to Emma and walked away with perfect confidence. Emma watched him go with obvious fascination. Marcus felt his perfect world beginning to crack around the edges. For the first time since his transformation, Marcus felt threatened. Who was Alexander, and what did he want? More importantly, what was his connection to the mysterious hermit? Marcus realized his journey was far from over. His transformation had been just the beginning. Something much larger and more dangerous was unfolding. And Marcus was about to discover that his hermit mentor had been hiding the truth. The real game was only just beginning. Alexander's eyes gleamed with an otherworldly knowledge that unsettled Marcus deeply. That afternoon, Marcus decided he needed answers about this mysterious newcomer. He skipped his last class and headed straight to the hermit's cabin. The hermit was waiting for him outside the cabin, as if expecting his arrival. "Master, there's a new student at school who looks exactly like you did when you were young." The hermit's expression remained unreadable, but his eyes flickered with something like fear. "I see. And this student, does he go by the name Alexander?" "Yes. How did you know? Who is he, Master?" The hermit was silent for a long moment, staring into the distance. "He is my greatest mistake," the hermit finally whispered. "Your mistake? What do you mean?" "Years ago, I had another student. Someone like you, but different. His name was David, and he was consumed by darkness and hatred. I taught him the same techniques I taught you, hoping to heal his wounded soul. But instead of finding peace, he became obsessed with power and perfection. When his transformation was complete, he demanded more. Forbidden techniques. I refused, and he did something unspeakable." "What did he do?" Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "He stole my life force, my youth, my power, all to fuel his own transformation. That's why I look like this now, aged beyond my years, weakened." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine as the truth became clear. Alexander is David? But how is that possible? The dark arts he learned allow him to maintain eternal youth and perfect form, but he requires constant feeding to maintain his power. "Feeding?" Marcus asked, though he was beginning to understand. He must drain the life force from others to sustain his perfection. "And now he's come for you, Marcus. You are his target." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice as fear gripped him completely. "But why me? There are other attractive people at school. Because you were trained by me. Your life force is pure, concentrated, Powerful. You are exactly what he needs to maintain his perfection for another decade. How do I fight him? There has to be a way. The hermit shook his head sadly, looking defeated. He is far more powerful than you, Marcus. I failed to stop him before. Then teach me the forbidden techniques. Level the playing field. No! The hermit shouted, pushing Marcus away with surprising force. Those techniques corrupt the soul. They would make you just like him. Marcus stared at his mentor, feeling abandoned and hopeless. Then what am I supposed to do? Just let him drain my life away? The hermit looked at Marcus with deep sorrow in his ancient eyes. I'm sorry, my student. I never wanted this burden to fall on you. Marcus turned away, anger and betrayal boiling in his chest. If you won't help me, then I'll find another way. Marcus stormed away from the cabin, leaving the hermit alone with his guilt. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep, his mind racing with possibilities. He researched ancient texts online, looking for any mention of life-draining powers. Hours passed as he delved deeper into forbidden knowledge. Finally, he found what he was looking for, an ancient ritual of power. The next day at school, Marcus felt Alexander's presence like a weight on his soul. Alexander appeared beside him suddenly, as if materializing from thin air. You look tired, Marcus. Have you been having trouble sleeping? Marcus tried to maintain his composure, but his hands were shaking. I know who you really are, David. Alexander's perfect smile never wavered, but his eyes grew cold. Ah, so the old fool told you the truth. How refreshing. I won't let you take my life force. I'll fight you. Alexander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Fight me? You foolish boy. You have no idea what you're up against. The hallway around them seemed to grow darker, as if Alexander was draining the light itself. Other students walked by without noticing anything, as if under a spell. Meet me after school, in the gym. We'll settle this properly. Alexander vanished as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving Marcus alone. That afternoon, Marcus prepared for what could be his final battle. He reviewed the forbidden ritual he had found, memorizing every detail. The ritual required sacrifice, something precious to fuel the transformation. Marcus looked at himself in the mirror, knowing what he might have to give up. As evening approached, Marcus made his way to the school gym. The gym was eerily quiet, lit only by the emergency lighting. Alexander was waiting in the center, his perfect form radiating dark energy. So, you came. I'm impressed by your courage, if not your intelligence. Marcus stepped forward, trying to channel all his training and newfound knowledge. This ends tonight, David. No more victims. Alexander began to change, his perfect features becoming more angular and predatory. You want to see my true form? Very well. Dark tendrils of energy began reaching toward Marcus, seeking to drain his life. Marcus dodged and began reciting the forbidden ritual he had memorized. Alexander's eyes widened in shock as he recognized the ancient words. You fool! That ritual will destroy you as much as me. Marcus felt power building within him, but also felt something precious draining away. His perfect features began to blur and change as he fed his life into the ritual. But the power was working. Alexander's form began to waver and weaken. No, I won't be defeated by a mere child. Alexander lunged forward with superhuman speed, claws extended. Marcus completed the ritual just as Alexander's claws reached his throat. A blinding flash of light filled the gymnasium. When the light faded, Alexander was gone, banished by the ritual's power. Marcus collapsed to his knees, exhausted and forever changed. He looked at his hands and saw they were no longer perfect. The ritual had cost him his supernatural attractiveness, but saved his soul. The hermit appeared in the doorway, having sensed the battle's end. Marcus, my brave student, you did what I could never do. I'm not perfect anymore, Master. The ritual took that from me. Perfection was never the goal, child. It was always about finding your true self. Marcus nodded, understanding finally what the hermit had been trying to teach him. The next day at school, Marcus walked the halls with quiet confidence. Students still looked at him with respect, drawn to his authentic presence. Emma approached him at his locker, smiling warmly. You look different, Marcus. More real somehow. I am more real, Emma, for the first time in my life. I like it, she said, taking his hand. Chad watched from across the hall, no longer intimidated, but somehow respectful. Ashley and Brittany whispered to each other, confused by their lack of attraction. But Marcus no longer cared about their shallow attention. He had learned that true power came from within, not from external perfection. That afternoon, Marcus visited the hermit's cabin one final time. The hermit was packing his few belongings into an old traveling bag. "You're leaving?" Marcus asked, surprised. "My work here is finished. You have learned all you need to know. But what about other students who might need help like I did?" The hermit smiled and placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "That will be your mission now, young master. You are ready to guide others." Marcus felt the weight and honor of this responsibility settle on his shoulders. "I won't let you down, master. I'll help them find their true selves." The hermit picked up his bag and walked toward the forest path. Before disappearing into the trees, he turned back one last time. "Remember, Marcus, the greatest transformation is not of the body, but of the heart." And with that, the hermit vanished into the forest, leaving Marcus alone. Marcus looked at the cabin that had changed his life forever. He would keep it as a sanctuary for others who needed guidance. A week later, Marcus noticed a new student sitting alone in the cafeteria. The boy was overweight, shy, and looked exactly like Marcus had months ago. Marcus approached the boy with a warm, understanding smile. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked gently. The boy looked up in surprise, not used to anyone showing him kindness. "My name's Marcus. What's yours?" Tommy," the boy stammered, clearly not used to social interaction. "Tommy, I think we're going to be great friends. And if you're interested, I know a place where we can work on becoming our best selves." Tommy's eyes lit up with hope for the first time in years. That afternoon, Marcus led Tommy through the forest path to the cabin. But this time, Marcus would teach the lessons the hermit had truly intended. "Tommy," he said, "the first thing you need to understand is that you're already enough. We're not here to make you perfect. We're here to help you become yourself." Tommy nodded, sensing that this was different from every other promise he'd heard. As the sun set behind the trees, Marcus began Tommy's true transformation. Not into a perfect Chad, but into a confident, authentic human being. Meanwhile, in a distant city, something stirred in the shadows. Alexander had not been destroyed, merely banished to regain his strength, and he was not the only one of his kind seeking perfect prey. Others like him roamed the world, feeding on the insecure and desperate. They had heard of Marcus's victory and saw him as a threat to their feeding grounds. A council of these creatures met in the depths of an abandoned building. "The boy must be eliminated," hissed their leader. "He spreads dangerous ideas, that people can be complete without our gifts. If his philosophy spreads, we will have no more desperate souls to harvest. Send our best agents to his school, find his weaknesses." Several shadow figures bowed and began to shift into human form. They would pose as transfer students, each one perfectly designed to tempt Marcus's allies. Back at the cabin, Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Something dark was coming. He could feel it in the air. Tommy noticed his mentor's sudden change in demeanor. "Marcus, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" Marcus forced a smile, not wanting to frighten his new student. "Everything's fine, Tommy. Let's focus on your training." But deep down, Marcus knew that his greatest challenges still lay ahead. The victory over Alexander had been just the beginning of a much larger war, a war between those who fed on insecurity and those who taught self-acceptance. Marcus had chosen his side, and now he would have to defend it. The next morning, 3 new students enrolled at Marcus's school. They were beautiful beyond human possibility, each one targeting a different group. One approached the athletes, another the academic achievers, the third the artists. Within hours, the entire school was buzzing about the gorgeous newcomers, but Marcus recognized something familiar in their 2 perfect smiles. Emma approached him at lunch, clearly excited about the new arrivals. "Marcus, have you seen the new students? They're incredible." Marcus felt a stab of concern. The creatures were already influencing his girlfriend. "Yeah, I've noticed them. There's something off about them." "Off?" Emma laughed. "Marcus, they're perfect, especially that one named Serafina." As if summoned by her name, Serafina appeared at their table. "Hello, Emma, and you must be the famous Marcus I've heard so much about." Marcus felt the same dark energy he had sensed from Alexander. "I've heard you're quite the inspiration, helping students find their confidence." Marcus's eyes narrowed as he recognized the threat to everything he was building. The war for the souls of his fellow students had officially begun. And this time, Marcus would have to fight not just for himself, but for everyone he cared about. Emma, unaware of the supernatural tension, smiled brightly at both of them. "Why don't you join us, Serafina? The more the merrier." Serafina's smile grew wider, revealing teeth that seemed slightly too sharp. "I'd love to," she said, settling into the seat directly across from Marcus. Marcus felt the temperature around the table drop several degrees. This was just the beginning of what would be his greatest test yet. The battle between authentic growth and supernatural predation was about to reach its climax, and somewhere in the forest, the hermit's cabin waited silently, ready to shelter those who sought true transformation over false perfection. Marcus took a deep breath and prepared for the fight of his life. A fight not just for physical survival, but for the very souls of his generation. The creatures had made one crucial mistake. They thought his power came from his transformation. But Marcus had learned that true strength comes from accepting yourself as you are, and that was a power they could never steal or corrupt. The war for authenticity versus perfection was about to begin in earnest, and Marcus was ready. The hermit had taught him well, but the greatest lesson Marcus had learned was one he'd taught himself, that the most powerful transformation is not becoming perfect, it's becoming yourself. And with that knowledge, Marcus faced the supernatural threat with unshakable resolve. The real battle was just beginning, but this time, Marcus would not fight alone. He had an army of students who had learned to love themselves as they were, and that was a power the creatures had never encountered before. The age of fake perfection was coming to an end, and Marcus would be the one to usher in the age of authentic transformation. The hermit's legacy would live on through him, not as a promise of perfection, but as a path to self-acceptance. And in that moment, Marcus smiled. He was ready for whatever came next, because he had learned the greatest secret of all. True power doesn't come from changing who you are. It comes from becoming who you were always meant to be. And as Serafina's smile faltered for the first time, Marcus knew he had already won. The battle would be fierce, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Authenticity would triumph over artificial perfection. Because in the end, being real is more powerful than being perfect. And Marcus had learned to be perfectly, authentically himself, the greatest transformation of all. To be continued in The War of Authenticity.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe because I will be uploading new episodes and new stories on a regular basis. Also, let me know in the comments what you enjoyed about today's story, and hit the like button if you want more.